Okay, when you're preparing for your case or when you're going through the domestic violence itself, you may not have left yet, but these are some things you really want to think about, especially when you're trying to uh, think about proving your case. Okay, even though you may not have left yet, you have to start obtaining documentation of the abuse. So, what are you trying to prove? Well, that the domestic violence is actually happening. You may have bruises, you may not, but you want to gather evidence any way you can. First, who are the witnesses? What days was this particular witness there? Okay. If you're not leaving yet, still document the fact that Aunt Jane was over there or a particular neighbor was over there and what day and time they were there. Also, any police reports. Were the police called? If the police were called, by whom were they called? Maybe a neighbor called. You didn't call them, but a neighbor called. Try to get the police report number. What officer was the person that's actually who actually wrote the report? Try to get in contact with them to see if they would make a statement during your case. Also, any diary entries, start writing a diary of the things and keep it in a very private place, someplace that you think that he will not go in. Any medical records, okay? Keep accurate medical records. Try to put them in a safety deposit box, okay? Look up how much they may cost and start putting birth certificates, social security cards for you and any children. Put them in your safety deposit box in case you have to leave. And don't have a bank that's right in the neighborhood, okay? Get something that's across town that he does not know about. And make sure that you have a bank account in your name only, okay? Now, when you're trying to figure out if you should leave, you need to think about the children, any children you may have. What are the effects on any children that are there? Are they emotionally traumatized? They might not be beaten by him, but the emotional, you all think that because a child is not in the room, that they don't hear you being beaten. The child may have to go to therapy or a guidance counselor because they might be acting out in school. The grades may be suffering or they're not participating. Or every time you turn around, they're fighting someone or emotionally they're just crying or upset or clingy. These are signs that that the child is being traumatized by your being abused. What's their diagnosis? What did the therapy state is wrong with your child? What treatment do they suggest? Many times they will tell you that you need to get out of that particular situation. And are they on medication? Are they not able to sleep at night? What's wrong? Are they receiving medical treatment for the trauma that they are suffering due to your being abused? Many times the children are not exempt from being abused as well. But many times parents, the one who's the victim, may justify or minimize the effects of their abuse on their child, claiming that the father or mother is a good mother or a good father, but they're just not good to them. If they're beating on you, it's having an effect on your child. How are they a good parent if they do not have concern about the effects that their behavior is having on their child? Now, safety plan. This is something that you want to practice and practice with your children. I know we don't, keep secrets, but this is something that they need to keep away from the abuser. If you think that the child is not capable of keeping this away from the parent, then you need to practice, okay? Now, What's your escape route? How are you going to go? Do you have extra keys? Who are your contacts? Someone you could go over to their house that your partner does not know about. How much money do you have on hand? Always keep a full tank of gas, okay? Or make sure you have enough money to get gas, okay? Change your PIN number to any debit or credit card you have. Change your PIN number. Your account, again, I would say make sure you're the only one that has access to this bank account. And make sure that bank statements are only online. You do not have any bank statements that would be connected that this person could find. And always keep a to-go bag. You might not keep that to-go bag in the house. You might have it over a friend's house. But keep a to-go bag that has like 3 days worth of clothes, underwears, and pajamas. Okay, anything that they might have for like hair products. You may get an extra thing of hair products. Okay, and get some soap and toothpaste, toothbrushes. Get all of those items that you would need. Okay, that you will not have access to once you leave, because you don't know if you'll be able to get into a shelter right away. You might have to stay in a hotel for a day before a shelter is opened. So you want to be prepared with money on hand, as well as a debit card that he does not know about, or he doesn't have the PIN to, or she doesn't have the PIN to. And make sure your children, you're able to get to those birth certificates, social security cards. Those are needed in case you have to change schools. All of these things you have to prepare for, okay? It does not matter how long you stay. I know many people are like, well, you should leave, you should leave. You should go to safety, okay? You will not know if that's your last time or if this is it. So anything you can do to keep you and your children safe, I would suggest doing it, okay? But letting your partner know, I'm going to leave you, please trust and believe you're putting your life in danger at that point. You never tell your abuser that you are planning on leaving or use that as a threat towards them, okay? I know me and my children, we had our house broken down within 3 hours. He never knew. Came back to an empty house, only the bed. I didn't need the bed, no memories. So, and you have to be careful about neighbors. My neighbors, they told who was moving me the description of the person. And, you know, he had went over to the person's home and threatened him and the entire family. And so you have to be careful because other people could be harmed. So make sure your neighbors, you know, sometimes these nebby neighbors, men and women, could actually try to help your abuser to find you. So you have to make sure that that person is not known to your abuser, or they're not petrified by your abuser. Okay. Now, I wanted to, I bought some, okay, here's some paper protectors, okay? You can I put them upside down. Okay, so let's try this. Okay. I put this upside down. Isn't that funny? Okay, but anyway. Okay, I put it all kind of different ways. Okay, hold on. Now, these are to protect your documents that you're printing off. I have up here, okay, because I'm working on this today, the effects of children's exposure to domestic violence. Okay, and so that's what I'm working on today, because I have to present this to a judge that didn't want to listen to me. they have to listen to documentation. Okay, this judge was like, he wasn't going to look at my documents. Okay, I'll just send it to the president judge, and we'll see if he or she will review my documentation, because if something happens, you're going to be held accountable. So anyway, so just put your, whatever you print off. If you don't want to print off everything, because this is like 17 pages, okay? If you don't want to print off the entire document, you can actually pick and choose, what page, page 9 out of 17 or 5 out of 17, whatever you want to focus on in your case. But I suggest you look at material such as this before you go to court, okay? And find out, well, what do I want to say about that particular information? What has my child exhibited that this documentation or something like it, you can Google whatever you want to Google, but what is my child exhibiting that meets this criteria as far as showing that this domestic violence is affecting them? Okay, because it's not about what you want to say, it's about what you can prove. All right, so your child, okay, or children may be acting out in school. This is showing that the parental contact is having a negative effect on them. Okay, they're looking at this person that they love, but as a child, they're not able to deal with the fact that this person is also hurting mommy or daddy. Okay, so they're torn. Okay, especially if that parent is nice and gives them things, gives them gifts, trying to win them over. They may be a daddy's girl or, a mama's boy, So just think about those things. What is the effect of the domestic violence having on my child? Okay, so when you do this, you put these documents within these pages, and then you get a sticky and you write exactly what this document is about. Okay, so you don't have to start reading through when you're at the bench, or at the table. You don't have to start trying to read, well, what does this document say? No, it says right here in the corner in bright yellow or orange, something bright, this is what this document is about. Then you will highlight, okay? This is what I got, a bunch of these because I'm always running out. But you get to highlight these. And, well, what particular point on this document do you want to highlight? Okay? It shows you each paragraph that you go, what it's talking about. And then you decide, well, what do I want to highlight from this particular paragraph? Okay? All right? Now, once you do that, if you want to write some notations on the side, which I would not recommend because it might distract you, practice what you want to say in court. How, once again, this is affecting your child. Okay? Now, and that will also show a need for that person to hopefully receive domestic violence counseling, not anger management. Well, I'll go into that later as to domestic violence counseling or therapy versus anger management. Okay, it's been shown that, anger management doesn't hit the core of the abuser, like peer on peer domestic violence counseling, where other men who were abusers are now able to reach back and help other men to know how how to deal with their feelings, how to work through without assaulting someone else. So when we think about all of that, okay, the importance of the children versus just our love for our children, it'll help us to make that decision that we have to place ourselves and our children in a safer place. Okay, I know the statistic states that up to 7 times women, it might take them up to 7 times to leave, but we have to think about our children. We have to think about how this affects boys, how are they affected seeing their moms beaten? A lot of times boys end up becoming abusers. Okay, so we have to think about that. Okay, girls end up becoming abused. Okay, or vice versa. We have to remember this is how domestic violence continues from generation to generation. So once again, to recap, make sure you have what you need, your pens and your paper protector. Make sure that you have your highlighters and your stickies. Okay, I have my stickies somewhere. Okay, and make sure that you also have the email address of the judge. Okay, because you might not, especially during this time of COVID, be able to go to the courts. Okay, and it's easier on you if you can email these documents to the judge so that they will be able to have them. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is preparation, but for now I wanted to talk about the effects on children exposed to domestic violence. Okay, it states here that domestic violence has a negative effect pertaining to the child's emotional and behavior functioning, social competence, school achievement, cognitive functioning, psychopathology, and general health. Also, although some of these effects have been replicated across studies and generally fit with theoretical and clinical expectations, there are a number of methodological issues that cloud their interpretation. So, this has a lot of negative effects on children, as I was saying before. How is their behavior in school? How is their work ethic? Do they do their homework? Are they able to concentrate? How are the children behaving with other children? Children of the opposite sex, children of the same sex. If it's a girl or a boy, if it's a girl, are they angry towards girls more than boys? Are they taking the anger that they feel about you because of, not being able to express that anger towards the father, but expresses it towards the person being violated? Sometimes children become angry at the parent who's being violated because they also are going through their own emotions and fears, and they side with the abuser. This is hard for the parent that's being abused because they feel like they don't have any allies. They feel alone. They feel isolated. But it's just a tactic, survival tactic that the children display. This is very, very important because we want to help the child to understand about the dynamics of domestic violence, this is why it's important for you to get a safe place, because this is having negative trauma on the children. So I want to get into statistics, my next video, about the statistics of children and what they go through. But my next video, the next one I put up, will be about a safety plan. Okay. And please bear with me. This is something new. So please bear with me.